This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome in on a Monday, the 14th of October. Lot to do today. We got to talk college football. We're going to talk some NFL. And we're going to talk some NBA and a little bit of China.
I can't believe it's October 14th.
I can't believe it's October 14th
wild.
either. I can't believe it's week 6 of the NFL season.
Wild.
Week 6 is almost over. Week 7 college football. It feels like this stuff just started.
Yeah, like Michigan State's already lost 3 games. It doesn't even feel like they've played 3 games.
It's wild how the NFL takes so long to come back, but the NBA it feels like the finals was yesterday.
Like it's the polar opposite of baseball. To where baseball comes back in February, like, wait a minute, that just ended. What do you? I don't want it back. What do you mean pitchers and catchers are reporting already? No, I'll worry about baseball in August. Like football, it's like, God, will you come back already? Finally, it's back, and it's like, oh my God, it's halfway over.
The NBA comes back so fast.
Yeah, real quick.
Because the
NBA
offseason
never leaves.
Yeah, the offseason at this point stretches into August, and then it's like, oh, football's back, and then the NBA's back.
Easily the most entertaining part of the summer, sports-wise, was July 1st at 6 o'clock.
Oh, it was
nothing
incredible.
that happened in baseball was more entertaining than that.
It was incredible, and that's why the tampering rules piss me off so much, because they're going to ruin
it's gonna suck
the ability for Julys like that to happen. I want to start with college football, because that's kind of what dominated my weekend. LSU Florida was
Awesome
an incredible game.
Awesome game.
I'll get to my top 6 teams. I did it last week. I'm going to do it again this week. Not a ton of change, but a little bit. I watched that. Red River was
I didn't see a whole lot of it.
It was a different game than I expected it to be, because the first half was a defensive showdown, 10-0 after the first half. And then the second half was a light show, but it didn't quite get as high scoring as I expected, but it was really an entertaining football game. I think Texas is okay. I think Oklahoma is okay. I don't think either of them are as good as they've been advertised, especially Oklahoma.
Texas to me is even more of a fraud than Oklahoma.
And I always thought they would be this year.
I think Ellinger's a good player. Everything else on Texas calling themselves DBU. I don't know any DBs from Texas in like the last 10 years. The last DB from Texas I remember getting drafted high was the dude the Raiders took, Michael Huff. It's like a safety a million years ago. I can't remember any DBs from Texas that were really good since then. How are they calling themselves DBU?
So last year they had Chris Boyd taken in the 7th round, Deshaun Elliott taken in the 6th round in 2018. Before then, Mikel Thompson, 5th round in 2015. Quandre Diggs, 6th round in
I did not know
2015.
Quandre Diggs.
Quandre Diggs is a good player.
Yeah, I like Quandre Diggs. That's one guy, though.
So Kenny Vaccaro was the last first-round DB out of Texas.
He's out of the league by
in
now, right?
2013. I think so. He was on the Saints.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if he still is. But I look at, I think the only teams that really have the ability to call themselves DBU, Ohio State can do it.
Ohio State should do it. That's the school.
They have a ton.
Yeah.
Every year a DB comes out of Ohio State. This year, I'm blanking on his name, and I just was thinking about him.
I feel like they have 3 of them.
Jeffrey Okudah.
Yeah.
He's incredible. He's going to be a top 10 pick, I think.
Yeah.
They can call themselves DBU. LSU can call themselves DBU.
Obviously.
LSU can also call themselves WRU.
Yeah, I was going to say wide receiver U is probably safe for LSU also.
They just produce skill players on the outside, I guess. I don't know what the deal is.
They just produce athletes in general.
It was an incredible slate of games. There was Notre Dame USC, which lived up to the hype and more, which the hype wasn't much because people thought USC was just going to get spanked, but they got a quarterback in Keaton Slovis with Urban Meyer on the sideline next year. The kid might win a Heisman.
I hope they keep Graham Harrell. I don't think they'll be able to, because I think Graham Harrell will go take the job at Baylor after Michigan State hires Matt Rule. Shout out. But either way, that kid can play and that guy can call plays.
What was the other nightcap game? Penn State and Iowa, which defensive battle made me think Iowa stinks. But
hideous uniforms on Iowa.
Iowa's just so... I hate watching them because, against Michigan, I think they went inside the 40 6 times. They came away with 3 points. Against Penn State, multiple trips to the red zone, 12 total points, and it took until 2 minutes left in the game
time touchdown
to get more than 6. They're just so frustrating to watch because they'll get deep in your territory, they'll get in the red zone,
and then they'll be Iowa. They'll go Iowa all over everything.
Yeah, it's like, well, we don't actually have any athlete that can be a threat in the red zone, even remotely, so we're just going to fuck this up. They should have a tight end.
Like, eventually, it's Iowa, so there's your tight end. Is definitely Iowa. Yep. But, like, you lose 2 first-round tight, or Fant was an early second-round tight end, and I guess you're screwed in the red zone. That hurts.
It's not ideal for certain. Then there were the bad games, which were Michigan and Illinois. It was dreadful. And it was actually entertaining to watch because the over hit. There was a ton of scoring. Illinois ripped off 25 straight after Michigan ripped off 28 straight. It was 28-25, and then Michigan ran away with it. Yeah. The one game that was totally unwatchable for me, I mean, I think Wisconsin fans probably enjoyed it. But
I would have if I were a Wisconsin fan.
Boy, oh boy, I just couldn't stomach what I saw. It was putrid. It was vomit-inducing. It was a game where I defended Brian Lewerke after the Ohio State game. I can't sit here and defend him after the Wisconsin game.
I can't put it all on him, though, either.
No, I can't. Again, it's you have receivers who can't catch balls. The number of drops is absurd. You have a defense that's uncharacteristically sloppy, and I think the calls for the defense aren't helping them. I can't understand why Mike Tressel keeps going 3-down linemen on 3rd down against Jonathan freaking Taylor.
I was gonna say, that's not the team to go 3 down against.
Like, just you have the perfect defense to load the box. They aren't going to throw the ball down your throat. Just load the box.
The kid with Jack Cohen, though, was pretty damn good. That's as good as I've seen somebody throw the ball against Michigan State in a long time.
Yeah, and I think there's also a certain point where the defense has given up a little bit.
Yeah, without a doubt. Uninspired, for sure.
This is the portion of the show I want to take to discuss Michigan State football a little bit more in depth. We'll get to Michigan. Neither team, there's not much nice to say about either of them.
There's been no inspiration of confidence in either fan base this week.
No, certainly not. This was kind of a week where I think Mark Dantonio had an opportunity to show, no, he doesn't have enough juice left in the tank to beat Ohio State or contend with the elites, but at least he can still hold true to the good teams. No, he can't. No. They got their ass beat by Wisconsin. Up, down, left, right, sideways, every direction you could possibly imagine. Wisconsin had their number. It was just embarrassing. And a lot of it comes down to the offense because it was the first time since 2000 that Michigan State was shut out in Big Ten play.
1 first down in the first half.
That's 19 years if you're keeping track. They haven't been shut out. That's John L. Smith's tenure and Mark Dantonio's tenure. They hadn't been shut out in Big Ten play until October 12th, 2019, when they got shut out at Camp Randall by Wisconsin. And who is the reporter that asked the question? It was more than fair.
I forgot already.
I know I have the name. The question was more than fair. I can pull the name up for certain, so I don't want to...
He even phrased, like, the question on its face, if you just would have bluntly asked, are you, like, regretting at all that you didn't change the staff? He set it up. He made it easier. He, like, softened the blow of the question a little bit, and Dantonio still decided to react like that.
So it was Hondo Carpenter asked... 7 games in, you've played 3 top 25 teams and scored a total of 17 points. Is there any belief that you made a mistake in not bringing in new personnel to your offensive staff? Was the question.
Fair. More than fair after you get shut out in week 7.
It's also absolutely warranted having played 7 games and scoring 17 points against 3 top 25 teams. It's more than fair when your quarterback looks lost, when your offensive line looks like cardboard, when your receivers are dropping every pass thrown their way, when you can't generate any push in the running game. You have 2 running backs enter the transfer portal. Yeah, it's more than fair.
You score 7 points against Arizona State at home.
Yeah, you get shut out at Wisconsin, 10 points at Ohio State, 7 against Arizona State at home. And you just, yes, you've got Connor Hayward and Ladarius Jefferson have both bailed on the program.
Don't blame them.
Not at all. And it's more than fair for a beat writer to come out and say, hey, do you wish that you had maybe made more significant changes to your offensive coaching staff?
And it's more than fair for him to say no, or it's too early for me to call it, or we just got beat today, and deflect the question.
Nothing went well today.
Just don't say, that's a dumbass question. Because guess what? That's not a dumbass question, but that's a dumbass answer you just gave. Like, that was really stupid for you to say. If there were an AD with any balls, this is when it's over. But we don't have one of those. It's Bill Beekman in this situation.
I want to like yell and scream and shout.
Yeah, there's no point to it anymore, right?
No,
Like,
I can't get up for it. Yeah. I want to scream. I want to just rant about Dantonio. I want to drop a bomb on this program, but I've already done it.
my will is broken to do that.
I'm too lazy. Yeah. I'm not even that I'm too lazy. I could put the work in and give you a rant for the ages, but I don't have the energy.
Exactly.
I don't have the will.
The will to do it is just broken. It's gone now. Like, what am I going to yell about? Nothing's going to change.
It was a week ago where I was looking at Dantonio, and I said it on this. We did the topic, what makes this season worth it? At what point can you be satisfied with this season? And I said, well, listen, you got to beat Michigan and let Mark Dantonio retire, and we'll build him a statue, and that'll be
deserves.
That. We'll move on from this era. I do still believe that, I think, deep down, but boy, after answering that question with that's a dumbass question, he's going to punt all the goodwill he had left right out the door.
It's already gone.
Like, that was really it, because I was in his corner. Just, I get that you don't have the mojo, the moxie, whatever it was that it took to beat Ohio State 2 times, to win 3 Big Ten titles, to go to a college football playoff, to win a Rose Bowl, to win a Cotton Bowl. You don't have that anymore. I get that. You're not getting those players anymore. I get that. You're not interested in butchering your friends. I don't agree with it, but I get it. I don't agree with it
from a friendship standpoint. From a business standpoint, I don't get it at all.
No, I don't agree with it, but I can understand from, like, you're 63 years old, retirement's coming up, you don't want to kick your friends out the door when you know you're leaving soon anyways. I get it. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I don't have to. I understand why. This I don't understand. No. And that's kind of where I draw the line, is like, you can do a lot as a coach. I don't put a ton of value into press conferences. I don't put a ton of value into what these guys say into a mic after a heartbreaking loss. Like when Harbaugh...
demoralizing loss.
When Harbaugh said the thing, and we'll troll him for it, when he's like, hey, the offense is hitting its stride, I think, in practice. We'll troll you for that because it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Clearly, that's not what's happening.
I'm not actually taking it seriously. I don't think he believes that. Yeah. I think he's just up there and he has to give an answer. Yeah. And what else are you supposed to say? Yeah, we're shit. Like, I know that's not going to happen. There's not an ounce of truth that comes out of these.
Exactly.
And that's why I usually don't care. But when you disrespect one of the hardest working, best reporters there is on your beat by saying his question is a dumbass question when it's frankly not.
Right. And you can... It's not like there's never been a reporter who's asked a dumbass question. There are times when you're going to get a dumbass question. Like, there's just not a question to ask and somebody's got to come up with something. That's not one of them. Like, that was not only completely warranted, it was a good question. Like, there are good questions that at times are unwarranted to ask. That was the right time and the right question, and just the absolute worst answer he could have given. Like, absolutely the worst answer he could have given, because it's not like the noise around East Lansing was super loud calling for his firing. That's more towards Detroit. That's more towards one guy on the radio and everybody else who's a diehard fan who knows what's happening. Now you're going to get the media on East Lansing. Like, somebody's going to write the article. It's time for him to go, and it's going to be in the Lansing State Journal. Like, this is all going to happen now.
Graham
started an avalanche.
There were already articles. I don't remember who wrote it, but there was one in the Lansing State Journal that was essentially saying Mark Dantonio has allowed Michigan State to die. Yeah. I think that was the headline. That it's like, Mark Dantonio, you have now brought Michigan State back to what it was under John L. Smith. You came in and revitalized this program and brought it to what it was back in the 60s, back in the days when they were winning championships, and now you've allowed it to become what it was under John L. Smith. And not only that, you're being an asshole about it.
Real dick. Like, he's the parent yelling at the teenager, I brought you into this world, I'll take you out. You brought us in, and you took us right out.
He's like, get off my lawn guy. And it's like, if you want to do that, great, retire. Do it at home. Be alone. Go enjoy your family and your life and your dinner and do all of that stuff. Don't do it with this football program, and don't disrespect the people who put their livelihood into covering it.
No.
It's insane.
No. It's a lot of different things that all end in, God, this is infuriating. Like,
it's just,
there's just a million different ways to arrive at being infuriating.
Kevin, it's taken the ability for me to enjoy the rest of this football season away.
That's gone.
I don't.
Like, I will look forward to one more game because I know they ain't gonna do shit against Penn State. Like, I'm looking forward to one game, and if it's over real quick, then I don't even know what we're waiting for after that one. Why even let them finish the season? I know he's going to finish the season. There is absolutely no way, unless he literally loses out through the Michigan game and it's all bad, he's finishing the season. He's probably coming back next year if he wants. But something absolutely has to. He cannot go through a spring ball of having this same staff.
No, and
even if they go 8-4.
It's at a point now where it's like the rest of this year, I don't know that I'm going to watch because they honestly, and I know that I have to because it's my job to do it. I have to be able to talk about what happened, but really, I would love to ignore it. I would love to stay away. I would love to not watch these games. I doubt I'm going to watch them live. I might catch a replay on Big Ten Network that I can speed through in an hour.
If there's a better game on at that time, I will not be watching.
And that it's just, you've now robbed the ability for me to enjoy my favorite football team on weekends because you act up like a dickhead. You don't put a good product on the field, and it stinks. It just stinks that he's
go to Lombardi at the end too.
The other, I don't. There's no point in putting that player in that position. The other aspects that I look at with this is just like, and it maybe even makes it worse that both fan bases are going through this at the same time.
Yeah, it's abysmal. After the year that the state of Michigan had from college basketball last year, to come into this in football,
it's pathetic. I know expectations maybe for you and I were win the Big Ten for Michigan State. Most Michigan State fans, I don't think, had that. Most beat writers didn't have that.
I didn't really think they'd beat Ohio State and be able to go to the Big Ten championship game.
I don't think most radio guys, I don't think most national pundits, nobody was like, Michigan State needs to go and win the Big Ten. No. I thought that because you had the defense to do it, and I wanted to dream, hope that there was some gas left in the tank.
Right, and all it really takes is muck it up against Ohio State. Don't let it be crisp. Muck it up against Wisconsin. Don't let it be crisp. That's how you win those games.
For Michigan, expectation was win the Big Ten and make the college football playoff. Expectation was that because your coach said it was that was what it was. A lot of people picked them. I picked them, for Christ's sake.
If not now, when? That was the whole mantra 7 weeks ago.
You had Harbaugh preseason talking about, I would pick our team to win the Big Ten. Well, everything now we know, everything we heard all summer about speed and space, how electrifying this offense was, how good everybody was at adapting into it, how much Shea Patterson had learned about it, how much the wide receiving core had gone into it, how well Zach Charbonnet was going to work out. Everything we heard was, we look great in our practices. We look great in our scrimmages. We're really learning this. Everybody's on board. Everybody knows what their role is. We've now found out that was all a lie.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what their role is. They look lost half the time. The receivers are visibly infuriated with the way they're being used. Nico Collins, right? Am I messing up the name?
No.
I don't know why I thought his last name was something different, but Nico looks visibly upset half the time he's on the field. Donovan Peoples-Jones has struggled to get involved. Ronnie Bell has looked great at times, but he's disappeared. I haven't heard his name called nearly as much the last few weeks, and these guys are upset. You have a quarterback who half your fan base is calling for to be pulled from games because he just can't throw the ball.
It's the numbers for him this week are he looked decent. 50%'s a little low, but at least his yards per attempt isn't it. But 11 for 22 against Illinois. That team lost to Eastern Michigan. You can't go 11 for 22. I don't care if you have 3 touchdown passes. You weren't impressive at all. And it's Illinois. You're the quarterback for Michigan. You should be going to Illinois and dotting them up and ripping them apart.
It should be electrifying deep balls.
Yes.
When you have Donovan Peoples-Jones and Nico Collins and Tariq Black, guys who there isn't any way that an Illinois athlete can cover them on the outside. You can't cover in the seam. You should be reading the scheme early. Your coaches should be putting you in better spots, frankly, to take care of business. And that just hasn't happened. And really, right now, I look at Michigan State and I look at Michigan, and I feel like Michigan State would beat Michigan today. I don't think I'm saying anything there.
No.
And it's just because I think Michigan State's defense still is a better unit.
And because they'll get up for that game.
That's
they couldn't
the one.
Get up to go to Camp Randall, which is kind of sad. But they'll get up for that one no matter what. You can be 1-6 and you'll get up for that one.
But I think you look at Michigan now where it's you have a scheduled loss next week with a night game whiteout in Happy Valley.
Yeah, without a doubt.
You then welcome Notre Dame to Ann Arbor. I'm not convinced Notre Dame's great. I'm 100% sure they're a lot better than Michigan.
They can move it.
Maryland the week after, probably a win. You get a bye. Then you host Michigan State, who, again, it's just going to be the ugliest football game of the season. There's not a chance in hell.
It rains. I hope it rains so
That'd be
much.
fun. There's not a chance in hell that they welcome Ohio State into Columbus, or into Ann Arbor rather, and do anything other than get a 60-piece tattooed on them.
I always say, it's that same thing of Michigan State. Like, they'll get up for that one, right? And then I remember last year, and I'm like, man, they had to have gotten up for that one, because if they won, they were going to the Big Ten championship game and probably the playoff, and they got smacked. Like, Ryan Day has been very much every single game the same type of thing. We're proving a point this year. Like, everybody said we're going to fall off. No, we're better than we were last year. And they are. They are definitely better than they were last year.
I do think the narrative that Ohio State's playing with a chip on their shoulder has been a little bit exaggerated.
I think he's coaching with a chip on his shoulder for sure.
And I think Justin Fields being the transfer guy who was only used in Wildcat situations in Georgia, coming into Ohio State and
I'll tell you what, though. You look at the top 5, man. If you're a quarterback and you don't like your situation, transfer, because you can get it pretty good somewhere else. If you're Jalen Hurts or Justin Fields or Joe Burrow.
LSU, Oklahoma, Ohio State.
The top 5 looks pretty good for transfer quarterbacks.
They will welcome you in.
Go somewhere else if you don't like where you're at as a quarterback. If you think I could fit there, go there. Do it. It's working. Ask Jacob Eason, too. Washington isn't that good, but that guy went from couldn't get on the field at Georgia to he's going to be a top 3-round pick this year for sure.
I look at this Michigan State game. It's the only game I'm willing to be excited for the rest of the year, but I really can't gather any level of excitement.
Not right now.
I just think it's going to be so brutal. It's just going to be
bulletin board material. There needs to be some shit talking back and forth to get me going.
I don't even know. Kevin, I think we might both be unranked. So how am I going to be happy about this?
Well, Michigan's got Notre Dame and Iowa before, or Notre Dame and Penn State. Yeah, no
Michigan
chance.
State's going to get rolled this weekend in the night game in the whiteout in Happy Valley. I don't think they can beat Notre Dame at home.
No.
Maryland, I think you beat, but who gives a shit?
Yeah, that's just a win.
And then you go to Michigan and Michigan State in Ann Arbor, 2 unranked teams. Michigan State,
noon start.
Michigan State's going to be probably 4-5.
I hate it when it's a noon
game. Or 4-4 because they only play one game until whatever it is. They'll be 4-5, 5-4, whatever they're going to be. Michigan's going to have 2, 3, 4 losses on their schedule, probably 3 or 4 at that point. You're talking about 2 unranked 3+ loss teams.
Noon start. Beth Mowens.
I am not interested in watching that game.
No.
It's going to be 6-3 or 3.
Put it on the Big Ten Network. Kevin Kugler and Matt Millen. Can't wait.
I'll tell you what I could see is it's going to be a 10-7 football game where all 3 scores are defensively oriented, where it's going to be 2 defensive touchdowns and then 1 field position field goal.
There will without a doubt be a stretch of that game, probably late second quarter, maybe mid third quarter, where there is 4 straight possessions, like Michigan, Michigan State, 4 straight turnovers. That's going to happen for sure.
Yeah, I think also you're going to see. I think it's not outside the realm of
Big Ten game.
It's not outside the realm of possibility that you see it open with a scripted drive by whoever gets the ball first. They go down, score, and then you see punt, turnover, punt.
There's one of those in there. I promise you, there's one of those in there. Michigan State runs a trick play on something. At some point, they will have
they did
no
Philly
yards.
special last year.
They will have no yards of offense, and then the fullback will catch a swing up the right side. There'll be nobody near him, and they'll get down to the 25, kick a field goal, and it'll be 7-3 until the end of the fourth quarter when somebody scores and it's over. I don't know how it will be, but it will be ugly. There will be a stretch of punt, turnover, punt, turnover, field goal, punt, turnover. It's just going to be so Big Ten-ish.
Absolutely unwatchable. All right, let me give you my top 6 teams, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or right or dumb, crazy, whatever you want to call me. Number 1, actually, let's do it the other way. Number 6, Oklahoma.
6?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 5, Wisconsin.
Big jump.
Number 4, Clemson. Number 3, Alabama. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 1, LSU.
I'm going to swap Clemson and Oklahoma, but other than that, I'm okay with it.
That's fair.
Florida State sucks. I'm not putting any credence into kicking the crap out of Florida State at home. Boise State beat them on the road.
They're undefeated, and
I know, and that's why I'll leave them in the top 6. But like I have been of all those teams, that's the least impressive one to me. And a win over Florida State at home does not make you more impressive.
Oklahoma has the Texas win, which is
better than a little bit more impressive than Clemson.
I mean, the only test we really had on Clemson's schedule all year was Syracuse.
Come on,
and they stink. Yeah, so I get it. I think I have to put respect on what they've done, and they are
the reigning national champion. They probably have the most talented quarterback.
Right. It might be a ranking that has more to do with what I saw last year than it has to do with what I've seen this year, but whatever. Wisconsin, I think there's a case that they could be 4. I actually would be more. So I said, flop them. I would be more willing to move Wisconsin than Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Yeah. The thing about Oklahoma to me is like if they played Wisconsin, boy, would that be fun because just the contrasting styles would be amazing. But
Jonathan Taylor might run for 500 yards in that game.
Right, but Oklahoma would throw for 500 too. That would be the thing. If they played it like that where it's just a shootout, man, I don't know. Because Oklahoma is, and I get that Texas, it's the same thing we just mentioned where they get up for that game. Like they're going to get up for that game. You're going to get the best Texas defense you can possibly get, and they still put 34 on them. Like, I really, really like Oklahoma. I don't think they can play defense because they're a Big 12 team. But man, they can come at you in so many ways on offense, and they do such weird stuff that you're not ready for, even though you've seen film on them. I'll keep them in front until I have a reason not to.
Jalen Hurts really good.
Yeah, like they've been more impressive to me than Clemson.
I worry about that defense.
For sure, they're a Big 12 defense. You have to.
With Wisconsin,
not worried about that defense.
I think they're very clear on what they want to do offensively, but they have the best running back in the country.
Best offensive line.
Because I think Georgia's a complete fraud at this point.
Complete fraud's a stretch, but that was a bad loss.
I'm starting to worry about Notre Dame a little bit. Because Notre Dame went from having the best loss in the country to, oh shit, Georgia might stink. Oh shit, Notre Dame might lose at home to USC.
I don't think Georgia stinks.
But yeah, no, and I get that it's like the hyperbole of the vernacular, but the broader point I'm making is like we went from maybe Notre Dame is a top 7 team because they have this incredible loss at Georgia to, oh, maybe that loss isn't so good. And then, oh, we almost let Keaton Slovis take our head off in the second half at home. And now I'm worried about them going for, like, I'm pretty confident that they can beat Michigan. Mm-hmm. If it's a night game in Ann Arbor,
they'll get up for that one. That's been the overwhelming theme of this. Like, my thing for Notre Dame is it's the team that, like, they still went 4-8 like 2 years ago. Like, they haven't lost that many guys. Like, I get it's a new quarterback. It's a lot of different, but, like, they still, like, every year, their schedule's so tough, and then by the time they get to those teams that were supposed to be super tough, they're not that good.
It's still Brian Kelly. That's the overwhelming theme. That's also
a huge part of it. It's like,
it's still Brian Kelly.
Nothing has really changed. It's still Brian Kelly. Like, I don't get it, but going into Athens at night is more difficult than South Carolina surprising them. Like, I don't think they thought South Carolina was going to give them that type of game, and South Carolina gave them their best game. South Carolina's not going to play a game that well the rest of the year. This is a South Carolina team that lost to North Carolina. Like, they got up, they went in. Maybe they'll get up to play Clemson. Maybe that'll be the one team that's a godsend that just knocks off Clemson at the end.
Can you imagine? Because I think somebody does need to do it. Right now, Clemson, and the other reason I have them at 4 is because I'm certain that they're going to get into the playoff, whether I rank them there or not. They just will. They're going to be undefeated. They are by far my biggest vote for team that gets in and gets blanked and blitzed in the semifinal. I just...
It's hard to repeat. It just is.
And there are 3 really good teams in front of them. 3 really good teams and 2 that I think in LSU and Ohio State are just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears to the NFL. I think this was a week where I learned considerably more than I had in any other week yet this season. And I still feel like I don't know a ton about the hierarchy of the NFL because I'm going to I want to start in Kansas City. I'm going to struggle to say that Kansas City is the surefire number 2 in the AFC that everybody thought they were a week ago.
It's up in the air now, for sure. I mean, you lose 2 in a row, both at home. At the very least, that's question mark. The thing about the AFC is, like, we talked about like Buffalo might be like the third best team, and they're in the East, and then the rest of the East is trash. The South is, Tennessee's awful.
Awful.
Like, just how do you get shut out? Like, I don't know.
The South, honestly, the Colts might be good.
Good.
Would they be better if they had Andrew Luck? Yes.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But they have one of the most transcendent offensive linemen in the league. They have a solid defense. They have good receivers.
Really good offensive
They're putting Jacoby Brissett in great spots.
They're making Eric Ebron look good.
They have guys who are making Jacoby Brissett's life easier than maybe we thought it could be.
Right.
I think that's going to be huge for them. I'm not ready to call them like a contender, but no, I think they can be solid.
Yeah, they can win the AFC South. That's for sure.
That division's. Houston's probably going to be
good, but even then, I think they could be. Houston lost to. Oh, am I thinking of that? Houston or Jacksonville almost beat them at home. They've had other struggles. They lost to somebody. I can't even remember. Houston had a bad loss at home.
They did. The New Orleans game was tough for Houston.
But didn't they lose to somebody at home? I swear to God.
It was the Jacksonville game they almost lost at home. I have to look through their schedule.
The Panthers. They lost to the Panthers.
Yeah. Was that the Kyle Allen game?
16-10.
I'm thinking, so my worry too with the Chiefs is just, man, that defense. One, I always have thought Andy Reid is like a galaxy-brained kind of coach where he makes clock management decisions no one else would. No. For every 10 play call that makes your jaw drop, there's one that will lose you a playoff game.
Yeah.
And it's just that type of thing where I don't trust what's going on because, one, Pat Mahomes has now had 3 consecutive games where he's looked less than stellar.
He's probably not 100%, but I'm not going to put it all on that.
No, and no, I don't think he's 100%, but today especially, I saw him miss a lot of throws short, and it was super uncharacteristic of him to be missing short to open receivers. The one I'll give him credit, he missed a little bit when he threw to Travis Kelce because Travis Kelce tripped. Yeah. That was a tough play. But there were times he missed Mecole Hardman short. There were times he was asking Tyreek Hill to dive for balls that were just really short. Just short throws in general. It made me worried because I don't think he's having the ability to step into his throws. I think he's lost some of that quickness.
It doesn't get easier for him either. They got to go to Denver next week. Denver showed what they can do defensively. They got to go, they have Green Bay at home, a week after that or 10 days after that? Oh, they got the short week this week. They're in Denver on the short week.
It's not a gimme.
No, not at all.
That's where the other aspect of this is that defense sucks. Mm-hmm. It's awful.
Joe Flacco's not going to do anything to him, but they got Rodgers after that.
Yeah, and like you said before the show, it's a lot of money for Frank Clark to have his name called once a week. I said it's a lot of money for Tyrann Mathieu to hardly be involved. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, it's a lot of money for Steve Spagnuolo to be on that sideline just because he's Andy Reid's good buddy. And his schemes, he should be tried in the Hague. It's like you can't stop the run. When the Colts hold the ball for 22 minutes in the second half of a Sunday night football game and beat you because of that. Talent certainly plays a part in you can't get the run stop. Scheme plays more of a part than talent when they're holding the ball for 22 of 30 minutes.
You know they're going to run it. Like, it's over and over again. You watch that Colts game back, and it's like every play they line up, 2 tight end, like every single time. Okay, they're going to run the ball. And they just run it. And they just get 4, 5, 6 yards every time.
The other reason I wanted to start with the Chiefs is I want to touch on the Lions for a little bit in the middle, and then we'll continue going around the NFL. But I've been high on the Lions because they played the Chiefs so close on that Sunday 2 weeks ago. I picked them to beat the Packers vocally. I haven't really put a ton of money on the game, but I am starting to think I need to put my money where my mouth isn't. The Chargers are getting smoked on Sunday Night Football as we tape this. That's a Charger team that the Lions needed some last-second heroics to take down in Ford Field. The Arizona Cardinals look like trash and did everything within their power to blow a game where they led 17-0, 27-7 against the Atlanta Falcons. And the Falcons came back, tied them 27-27, tied them again almost tied them again 34-34, but Matt Bryant missed the field goal, and that's why they lost.
And if you watch the end of that game, there was a review on whether Kyler Murray made the spot for a first down, and the call stood. There are a lot of things I don't agree with reviews, but I don't understand how you. What do you need to stand? Like, there's no standing on reviewing a spot. You just see where the ball went out and you marked it there.
Yeah.
Like, why are you like, no, I can't tell if it went out there? Yes, you can. He's a yard short, and you gave him the first down. Then you review it, and you're like, oh, well, it stands. What do you mean it stands? It's not a like. This is a black and white call. We're marking the ball. This is not he might have fumbled. His knee might have been down. This is where did the ball go out of bounds? It's pretty easy to tell.
So the point for the Lions is week 1 you tied a team that is now 2-3-1. Not a great team.
Easily should have won the game.
One of the probably 6 to 7 worst NFL teams.
First year coach, first year quarterback.
Yeah,
in their first game.
Right. Yeah. Week 2, and you were up 24 whatever.
Yeah.
Week 2, you beat the Chargers by a field goal at home and late game heroics.
And they had like 2 touchdowns called back, the Chargers, in that game.
And Darius Slay let Keenan Allen throw him in a locker.
Mm-hmm.
The week after that, you go against a depleted Eagles team that now is getting healthy, but is 3-3 and really struggling. They got
a rough one today.
Just bludgeoned by the Vikings. Kirk Cousins
Captain Kirk
could not miss. He was throwing all over Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, one interception that was not even remotely his fault because Stephon Diggs just forgot how to catch the ball for a quick second. It went right through his hands, off his face. And then
the only time all game Stephon Diggs forgot how to catch the ball.
He was spectacular.
Other than that,
was good too. The touchdown pass to Thielen was great.
Kirk Cousins was incredible. Yeah. The fade route to Thielen was beautiful. The long throws to Diggs were perfect. Hit him in stride. He was awesome.
Well. Yeah.
They beat the shit out of the Eagles.
They controlled the game.
That's an Eagles team the Lions beat by 3 points. They're now 3-3, looking like if they played in a better division, they might not be a playoff team.
Right.
And then you have a 4-point loss to the Chiefs late where you let Pat Mahomes just beat you at the end of the game, which I said sometimes that happens. You overcame some adversity in that you fumbled on the goal line twice,
gave him a 99
and then
jog.
you still had the lead with 2 minutes to go. It was just like an adversity I thought the Lions had overcome. Now, we're looking at a Chiefs team that's 4-2. Pat Mahomes has thrown all of, 2-3 touchdowns the past 3 weeks.
Yep.
You're looking at an Eagles team that is reeling, can't buy a win. You're looking at a Chargers team you beat by 3 points that's getting their ass whipped by Devlin Hodges and a depleted Pittsburgh Steelers team that had all but given up going into this week. Their coach was being jokingly shown in Redskins uniforms on Twitter all day. People assume Mike Tomlin will not have a job. That team is currently whipping the Chargers on Sunday Night Football.
I'll give more credit to the Philly win just because you went on the road and it's a tough win, and Philly needed a win that week and couldn't get one. So, that to me has been the more impressive win. And they lost Slay at some point in that game. I can't quite remember when, but they didn't have him at the end. Doing what they did to Mahomes without Slay is somewhat impressive.
Sure.
When you look at, yes, Mahomes hasn't been great, but there were still points in this game that, the jaw hit the floor and you're like, Jesus, Patrick Mahomes is something.
Sure.
So I'll give them a little bit of credit for that. The offense has been not terrible, not great, pretty balanced. You haven't been run heavy or pass heavy, I'd say.
No, I think Bevel's done a good job.
Yeah. I just it's early. You got a tie you shouldn't have.
Right.
If you had that win, I'd feel a lot more positive, but you don't. And the schedule doesn't get super easy.
You
haven't played
doesn't.
the Vikings at all, so you're going to play them twice. You haven't played the Bears at all, so you're going to play them twice. That's 2 of the best 5 defenses in the NFL.
And you got the Packers for round 1 tomorrow night
and
in
they have
Lambeau.
A great defense, too.
In Lambeau at night. It's going to be cold in Wisconsin.
And they haven't won in 4 tries, so Aaron Rodgers wants to beat the Lions.
I'm considering fading the Lions just because I'm starting to look at them kind of what I said about Notre Dame, where they had this incredible loss that we all held up as being majestic because the Chiefs were undefeated and they held the league MVP to no touchdowns. Well, now the Chiefs have looked not great 3 straight weeks.
Right.
And I think the Packers, when they beat Dallas's ass, looked pretty good. I think the Packers, when they lost that Thursday night game to the Eagles, Aaron Rodgers looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I know they lost that game.
Yeah.
I like to think that he called those plays at the goal line, but listen, anytime that you run 6 plays at the goal line and they're all passes, your offensive coordinator and or head coach should be thrown in jail. So that's kind of where I look at that game and go, maybe that's not entirely on the Pack for being bad as much as just weird play calling and a desperate Eagles team on the road. I'm starting to wonder if I need to fade the Lions because I think the Packers just might be the better team, and the Lions might have gotten a little overhyped for performing well against a Chiefs team that isn't as good as we thought.
I do like Patricia defensively with 2 weeks to prepare for Rodgers. That gives me at least a little bit of confidence being like, okay, they got 2 weeks to get ready for Rodgers. The issue is last week they didn't have to show anything on film against Dallas. All they did was run the ball. Aaron Jones just dominated. So like you're preparing for Rodgers to do all these things and then you realize, oh, they can do this. Like we have to get ready for this too. Getting Slay back will be massive if they get him back. I think he's going to play. But either way, they have to like you can't just zero in on we got to stop Aaron Rodgers because you saw it last week. Like they wanted to zero in on stopping Aaron Rodgers and they got trampled.
I think actually you have to zero in on stopping the run.
Yeah.
You have to dare Aaron Rodgers to beat you. I think that's where the strategy lies.
You have to dare Aaron Rodgers to start calling audibles.
Yeah.
Like you have to dare Aaron Rodgers.
You need him calling plays at the line of scrimmage.
You got to take Matt LaFleur out of it a little bit.
Yeah. Is this a must-win game for the Lions?
Not in the sense of like they won't make the playoffs if they lose, but if you want to be considered for the next, 4 or 5 weeks before we really start getting into who's a playoff team, if you want to be considered a team that has a shot, this is a game you got to win.
I think generally October is where it starts to matter. Mm-hmm. September football, yeah, it's nice to get out of September 2-2, but you don't need to get out of September 4-0 if you want to make the playoffs. October, you need to start playing well. You need to be 2-2, 3-1 in October.
Exactly. I'll put it like this: if they lose this game, you're still okay. Like you're not out of the playoff race at all.
You need to beat the Vikings next week.
But if you win this game, you're going to start hearing the Lions being talked about. Like you're going to start like national. They don't lead Get Up on Tuesday morning if they do that. Like,
that's the thing that does still exist. I think the wins they have over the Eagles and the Chargers have lost a little luster. I think the loss against the Chiefs has lost a little luster. But if you go into Lambeau on Monday night and you beat Aaron Rodgers for the 5th straight time,
and if you do it somewhat convincingly,
I think you start getting talked about. That's still on the table. And I think the NFC really is kind of wide open.
Yeah. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, San Francisco looks damn good. And I said last week that I think San Francisco might be the 3rd best team in their division. Pretty sure I was wrong about that.
Seattle looks good, too.
Not feeling so good about that take right now.
Seattle looks good, too. But the other thing we need to talk about is, are the Browns bad?
I think the Browns coaching staff is very bad.
Freddie Kitchens is in over his head.
Yeah, I think that Baker Mayfield is not good yet. I guess we'll put the yet in because he is technically young, though I don't really buy into that. I think like Deshaun Watson was young. Patrick Mahomes was young. They're good players. You can tell right away.
I think Baker played a good game today, though. He played as good a game as he's played all season.
That's fair.
As good a game as he's played since last season. Nick Chubb's really good. I think Baker's struggles still. I'm still giving him the benefit of the doubt because we do have to keep in mind he broke the rookie touchdown record in like 12 games. Mm-hmm. We do have to keep that in mind. That offensive line stinks.
The offensive line stinks, and they just they don't call the right plays for Baker to be Baker. Like you got Odell Beckham Jr. Stop throwing the ball to Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah,
like it's not like a knock on Ricky Seals-Jones because he had a good game, but like you have Odell Beckham Jr.
I think
the ball.
I think they have a classic case of just there's too many mouths to feed.
For sure.
And
for sure.
I don't think it's going to help you that you have David Njoku coming back. You have Kareem Hunt coming back in week 10. I don't think adding more mouths to this is going to be a good situation for the Browns.
For a lineman. See if you get Jake Matthews out of Atlanta. There's a name we didn't mention in Atlanta.
Is it a case where maybe Odell becomes movable if you can get an offensive lineman?
Oof. I would be trying to move a lot of people before him. Like, I would move off Jarvis Landry before him. I would move off Chubb before him.
If Jarvis and Baker have a rapport more than Baker and Odell, doesn't that matter more than...
Yes, but if you can grow that rapport, I mean, and Jarvis Landry is a top 10 to 15 receiver in this league probably, but Odell Beckham Jr. is top 3. Like, I mean, they're
Jarvis Landry or Julian Edelman. I know we're on a tangent here, but that's where...
Man. That's one of those where, like, Edelman is so into that system. He's such a smart player within that system because he knows exactly what to look for. He knows exactly where to go, and he obviously has a lot of talent. But
and Jarvis a lot of chemistry with that quarterback.
Exactly. But Jarvis Landry if I'm comparing football player to football player, I feel like if one guy catches the ball and there's open field, I'd rather have it in Landry's hands than Edelman. I don't know. And
okay, I
count on Edelman to get open more because I've seen it more because I know he's always open. But Jarvis Landry is one of those, the guy's got the ball in his hand, it's exciting.
I think what I need to see more of out of the Browns is a little less, let's see Baker do Baker things, and a little more, let's let Odell be Odell.
Put Odell to return punts or something. Get him the ball.
Yeah, stop doing... I'm actually fine with that. But stop doing the whole, let's roll Baker out and let Baker show off his talent, his wheels, his arm talent.
He can make throws.
Dude, put this kid in the pocket, have Odell run a slant, have Baker hit him 5 yards deep, and have Odell run it for 80. That's what Odell does.
Like, you did it against the Jets. Why'd you stop? The Jets have a good defense. Not like the Jets were bad on defense. Yes, they were playing Luke Falk.
They have a very good secondary.
But they, Odell ran right through him. Like, you got to get that guy the ball.
And that's the big thing about Odell is, yes, he's this incredible downfield receiver. He can make awesome one-handed catches. He can jump over a corner in single coverage. He's unguardable in single coverage. He's also maybe one of the best yak guys in the NFL. And so it's like, get the ball to him early in plays, and you're going to be better off than this long developing kind of Baker has to move around and shuffle about behind an offensive line that can't protect him. No. It doesn't make sense.
They should be running a lot more RPOs than they run.
I agree. I do. I think Freddie Kitchens is in over his head.
They want to hand it they want to put Baker under center and hand it to him. I'm like, I get the idea of that. Hedestein, the whole thing. Yeah, that's great. But you have all these playmakers around. At least feign like you're going to use them.
Couple other things that we learned. Should we buy into Kirk Cousins at this point in the season? Because
we knew this was going to happen. You knew he was going to have the game stretches where it's like
he's had a couple 1 o'clock games.
It's like these happen with Kirk every year. Where you're just like, oh, you see, he's pretty good.
That's why they gave him $83 million.
They'll play at 7:30 against some team that plays Sunday Night Football, and he'll be terrible. I do think there was some. What's the guy's name? I think it's Zach Brown, which funny enough, because Zach Brown. But Zach Brown and Malcolm Jenkins both saying no, we want him to throw it. Kirk Cousins is never going to be the guy who's going to talk shit in a post game, but he talked down the field oh, you want me to throw it? Well, this is what happens. You don't have anyone who can keep up with Diggs.
The Zach Brown and Malcolm Jenkins stuff is actually another thing that I learned. The Eagles secondary is absolutely atrocious, and for that reason, none of them should ever talk on what they want a quarterback to do again. You can't guard a soul. Don't talk about we want guys to throw. You don't want anybody to throw against you. You suck.
He missed Diggs on a deep ball, too. There could have been another one where he just kind of barely overshot him, or Diggs just didn't quite get there was another one out there for him, too, and they ran it well.
I don't think the Vikings are great. I don't
want to play him at 1 o'clock in Minnesota, though. I promise you that.
Again, we're going to learn a lot about the NFC North on Monday night. That's why it's tough. We got to record this on Sunday, but we will learn a ton about the NFC North on Monday night. And the Lions are going to show us if they're the best team in the division or if they're not. If the Lions lose, I think maybe they slide right into the 3 spot in the NFC North, right behind Minnesota right now, just the way Minnesota's played for 2 weeks.
The wild card in the NFC is a literal wild card. Because there's 2 teams in the West who probably are going to vie for that wild card spot, and there's 2 teams in the North who are probably going to vie for that wild card spot. And now Carolina's won 4 in a row. They got to be in it out of the South. A lot of those teams are not going to make the playoffs.
The Browns, by the way, at 2-4, they're done, right? They're not going to the playoffs.
I can't imagine they would. It doesn't get easier. We're going to see them in primetime a lot more.
The saving grace for them is that they play in what is absolutely the worst division in football.
It's rough.
But you also have to imagine this. Like I've said a few times, the Steelers right now, as we're speaking, are up 24-0 with 6:39 left in the third. The Pittsburgh Steelers, with Devlin Hodges as their quarterback, are about to have the same record as the Cleveland Browns in the same division. The Ravens, on the other hand,
right,
who I don't think are good.
No.
This is another thing I learned today.
Lamar Jackson might be really good, though.
Yeah, no, he's incredible. His rushing ability is insane. Yeah. They are going to be comfortably in first place in that division, and I don't know that they're, at this point, catchable.
I can't see another playoff team that they'll beat in a playoff game, though, in the AFC.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
I think they're I don't think they'll even get a bye. I think the buys.
But who would they they'd probably have to play the Texans or.
This is the other thing, and this is where I want to talk about a team where I learned something this week. They didn't even play, and I learned something about the Buffalo Bills. It's because I learned a lot about their upcoming opponents. And we went over this before we started the show, but if you look at the Bills' schedule for the rest of the season, I'm just going to run through it quick. Next week, they host the Dolphins. Week after that, they host the Eagles. So week 9, they host the Redskins. Week 10, they travel to Cleveland. Week 11, at Miami. Week 12, they host Denver. Week 13, they go to Dallas, who today showed they might not be great.
A desperate Dallas team in Week 13, though.
Week 14, you host the Ravens, who again might not be great, and the Bills' defense is really good. Week 15, you go to Pittsburgh, who by week 15 will be playing for a draft pick. Week 16...
Hey, at this rate, they're up 24-0 in a shitty division. They might not be playing for a draft
It's actually
pick.
true.
Who knows?
Week 16, you go to New England, who may have already clinched the division. And then week 17, you host the New York Jets, who will be playing for a draft pick.
If they're
1-4, Kevin.
I know they're 1-4,
They're
but
1-4.
playing for a draft pick implies that they're going to be like 2-12. Like, they're not going to be... Sam Darnold can play. And if he were healthy, I think they're minimum 2-3, probably 3-2. I think they would have beat the Browns with Sam Darnold. I really do. And Le'Veon, they didn't overutilize him today. They didn't give him a million carries, and he does the things he's supposed to do. That defense is damn good in New York.
Historically, 1% of 0-4 teams.
I'm not saying they're going to the playoffs, but playing for a draft pick implies they're going to have a really bad record.
But are they going to be playing spoiler week 17 against Buffalo? Because the overarching point here is
New York State Championship.
I think there's an outside chance, and this sounds insane. I think there's an outside chance the Buffalo Bills enter the playoffs as a wild card at 12-4.
It's an outside chance because it's the Bills, too. Like, we have to imagine they're going to go Bills one game and just blow something that they should win. But I do think they're not going to win the division, but I still think they're probably a top 4 team in the AFC. Like, they're not going to be one of the 4 division winners, but they might be one of the best 4 teams.
Yeah, I think when you start looking at the AFC standings and you notice, look, we don't, at this point, do we know what the Chiefs are? I don't know if the Chiefs know what they are right now.
Thought I did.
I did. I think we all thought we knew what the Chiefs were. I think we thought that the Patriots-Chiefs AFC Championship game was a foregone conclusion. But you start looking at the the division-leading teams in the AFC. The Chiefs at 4-2. I think the Chiefs realistically are a 10-6 football team this year. You look at the Ravens, 4-2, same deal. I think they're 9-7, 10-6. You look at the Texans, 4-2. You start wondering, could the Bills really be a wild card team that's better than any of the other 3 division winners? Is it impossible that we look at a Patriots-Bills AFC Championship game?
It would be all about how it shakes out. The Bills, the thing is, they're going to have to go on the road in the first week of the playoffs, right? Because they're not going to win the division.
Right, that's the tough part.
So if you're going on
and if
the
you got to
road,
go to Kansas City, it's always
going
tough.
on the road to Kansas City to start the playoffs with Josh Allen, it's going to be tough.
Boy, and the other tough thing is if they get the Patriots in the divisional, if God willing, they win their... Because I think, is it fair to say the Patriots are going to have a first-round bye?
I would... yeah, I mean...
At 6-0, the world would have to end, I think.
If it's fair to say in week 6, then yes, it's fair.
With the way the defense is played, I mean, they're points for 190, points against 48.
It would take a seismic shift in their season for them to not get a first-round bye.
This is the last thing I want to talk about on the NFL. And now that we're on the Patriots, this is where I get to it. There's this really weird thing going on in football media where they look at the Patriots, they're undefeated, and they look at the 49ers, they're undefeated, and they go, oh, the opponent win percentage is 2 whatever. That shouldn't be possible. It shouldn't be able to play that easy of a schedule. Well, they have. And the other thing is they're undefeated. Yeah. So, one, they aren't the only teams that have played easy schedules. Yes, they've played easy schedules. Part of that, I think, is because they've handed out 5 losses and 6 losses. That has to count at some point.
They played Pittsburgh with Ben. It's not like
they won by 30 points.
That was a full-strength Pittsburgh, and it's a team that's whooping the hell out of the Chargers with Devlin Hodges right now, and they played them with Ben Roethlisberger. There are things that, yes, I guess you could say the winning percentages, but they've played decent teams. Buffalo's a decent team,
yes,
right?
They're 4-1.
Yeah.
And then when we start talking about, well, the Patriots defense looks great, but they haven't played a real offense yet. No, they don't look great. They look historically great.
And Ben Roethlisberger with the Steelers is a real offense.
6 weeks into the season, Kevin, The Patriots defense has scored more touchdowns than it has allowed. That shouldn't be possible.
No.
That shouldn't be possible. They're on pace to be the highest scoring fantasy defense by 80 freaking points.
Oh yeah, wait, I had that stat somewhere. What was this one I had?
They're on pace to score more than the top ranked Bears did a year ago in fantasy by week 8. That's not they're playing bad teams. They are historically good. And no, I don't think that they're going to be that good when they play the Chiefs, when they play the Ravens, maybe when they play the Browns. No, I don't expect them to have 5 takeaways and 0 points allowed. But is it insane to think that they're just suddenly going to be giving up 21, 28, 34 points, that they're just suddenly going to be easy to beat?
This one was awesome for me. This was through Thursday night, and it was from ESPN, but it was through Thursday night, so it's been updated since, obviously, from today. The Patriots ranked 8th overall in fantasy points. Not defense.
Yes.
Like the Patriots defense ranked 8th overall in fantasy points behind McCaffrey, Eckler, Wilson, Mahomes, Cook, Watson, and Jackson. They have more fantasy points than Chris Godwin, who has been lighting it up for me, by the way, and Tom Brady. That was through Thursday. They had more fantasy points than their own quarterback, who is the GOAT.
As of this morning, they were the 3rd ranked player in PPR leagues on Yahoo Fantasy. There was this is the stat that blows me away. There's the gap between the average scoring between the Patriots and the 10th best defense is bigger than the average scoring gap between Christian McCaffrey and the 10th best running back, which you could boil down to saying the Patriots have been more valuable in fantasy this year than Christian McCaffrey. That is absolutely insane.
As someone who also has Christian McCaffrey, I will say no. But yes, that like by the
I
points,
have both
you
in a
can make
league too.
You make the argument. Like I had McCaffrey and Godwin this morning made me so happy. Like by noon, I was like, oh, I got this shit. This is easy. But like they have been. I've never heard of a defensive fantasy like ranking in the top 10 after week 6.
No,
that doesn't happen.
And I've never seen like a point differential like this. I've never heard of a team playing 6 weeks and scoring more defensive touchdowns than they've allowed. These are things that should not be possible in the National Football League. That's why I don't fucking care who they've played. I don't care what offensive. When you put up numbers like this, throw away the who you've played card.
Right.
It doesn't matter. No, I don't think they're going to be that good against the top defense or top offenses, but I think they're still going to be really, really good. And so that's where it's. By the way, and this is probably the last thing for NFL before we jump into the NBA and quickly address the China stuff, but when was the last time we talked about a Patriots team that's going to maybe go undefeated in spite of their quarterback?
In spite seems like a stretch. Like he had 2 touchdowns on the ground on Thursday. Like, and I know they're from a yard out, but he's better at that than anybody ever.
Do you know that he has as many goal line carries as Sony Michel?
I believe it. For a guy who has made a career,
which is an
not
indictment on
hit,
Sony
right?
Michel more than anything.
Partly, well, that's an indictment on Josh McDaniels too. But either way, he's so damn good at getting 1 yard. Like he's the best of all time.
It's the most successful play in football statistically.
Exactly. Is Tom Brady going straight ahead? And he's so good at that. I don't know how you don't he does it to you once. Make an adjustment. Don't do it twice in the same game.
I don't know how he's so good at it.
It's
insane.
It every time.
It is. Then again, you gotta boy, that interception in the first quarter.
He looked really, really not Tom Brady for really the first half.
He looked awful, and it was the 3rd straight week that against the Bills, it wasn't like a first half, second half thing. He looked bad for 2 halves. Against the Redskins, he looked really bad in the first half, and then he kind of keyed in the second half. Against the Giants, sort of the same thing, but still was never really Tom Brady.
Sure.
I don't think I'm ready to come out and say Tom Brady has fallen off the cliff.
No.
I'm not ready to come out and say it's Tom Brady's.
They're undefeated.
Right. Yeah. I'm not ready to come out and say it's Tom Brady's 2015 Peyton year where a defense is just going to carry him. Because Peyton, let's not forget, 9 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, or 9 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, whatever it was. He got benched for Brock Osweiler.
He couldn't throw. He physically could not throw the ball.
People forget that he was benched in a playoff game for Brock Osweiler, and because Brock Osweiler threw a pick or something and Peyton just put his helmet on and ran out onto the field, and there's not a coach in the world that's going to say to... This might have been week 17 or something. When Brock Osweiler came off and then Peyton just put his helmet on and went back out. And no coach in the world is going to be like, hey, Peyton Manning, you can't go on the field and be the quarterback right now. So he kind of took the reins back of the team himself. He had a horrible run through the playoffs, but his defense won him all those games.
Literally a Super Bowl.
That is not what this is right now. Tom Brady's better than that. What I'm saying is Tom Brady at 42 is what most normal quarterbacks are at 38, which is not great. The defense, I think, is going to help them get through this. They need another offensive weapon. I hope he improves, but they do need another weapon. Other than that...
There's one they can go get if he doesn't get suspended.
Oh, boy.
They're paying him anyways.
Are the Patriots and Niners on a collision course, or is it too early? I think the Seahawks really are probably the better team.
I think it's too early. I'm rescinding can't rescind it, but my take from last week is wrong. Like, what I said about the Niners is flat out incorrect. Like, they are not the third best team in their division. What they did today proved a whole hell of a lot, especially defensively, because that was the area for me. Like, the offense is fine. They run the ball. They carry it. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo is a Pro Bowler, but not an All-Pro, if that makes sense. Like, he's very good at what they do, and I think Kyle Shanahan has a way of making quarterbacks look really good by throwing to people that are wide open and handing it to running backs who have holes that I cannot explain at all when Aaron Donald was on the field, but there are holes for some reason. I just think Seattle has a better quarterback and a better defense.
That defense is not great.
Like,
that defense is not great.
I think Seattle has
the 49ers defense is really
defense
good.
Is really, really good. I will give you that. Seattle, to me, like, I don't know. Seattle's front four is better than the Niners. I really think that's true.
You got Nick Bosa, though. I think it just outweighs.
Is Nick Bosa better than Clowney?
How effective has Clowney really been?
He's been.
As
effective as Nick Bosa.
I don't know. I strike because the secondary is so bad, and I think the 49ers secondary is really good. No, but if I did have to power rank the NFL before Monday Night Football, I'd probably Patriots 1, Seahawks 2, Saints 3, Niners 4, and then after that, probably right now the Packers, but it could be the Lions by tomorrow.
I also feel like I can't jump on the Niners because Richard Sherman keeps telling me not to jump on the Niners because I didn't from the beginning, so I'm not allowed to change my mind.
Oh, fair.
According to Richard Sherman, I'm never allowed to think they're good.
Yeah, but Richard Sherman also makes up stories about handshakes. Right. So I think whatever he says doesn't fucking matter.
I'm sick of guys doing this. It's like, if you didn't think we were great in week 1, don't say we're good now. Why? Like, you have played great for 5 weeks, and I'm not allowed to say you're doing well now when I didn't think you were good. How dare you change your opinion? You were terrible last year. Why did I think you were going to be good? Like,
how dare you change your opinion based on new information?
I'm so sick of that.
Clown.
Richard Sherman telling me, if you weren't honest from week 1, don't get honest now. Like, well, then fine. I won't get on you. You suck.
All right, we are way over time, so let's just very quickly, we'll touch on the NBA in China, and then next week we'll do our Pistons talk. But our whole thing with the China deal is, I think this is more my whole thing with the China deal is just, it's really a bad look when you pull the All-Star game out of North Carolina for trans rights advocacy, when you pump this basketball cares, this NBA cares, basketball without borders. You've got LeBron James with the more than an athlete shirts that he's...
Company.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wears them. We're more than an athlete. We speak on social issues. We aren't the NFL. We aren't going to tell D'Angelo Williams he can't wear those cleats. Players can wear whatever types of shoes they want. Players can wear whatever types of shirts they want. Players can speak on...
No ninja-style headbands.
Sure. Players can speak... Players can speak on whatever... social issues they want to speak on. LeBron James, you are more than an athlete. LeBron James, I will not shut up and dribble. These are words he said,
direct
not
quote.
me.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr wants to take pot shots at the president and tweet constantly,
which I agree with,
about his political leanings. Yeah, I don't have any problem with it. In fact, even if he were saying he agrees with the president, I wouldn't have a problem with it, because that's the thing that exists in this country, that you are allowed to say that. And the NBA has been really good in a place where the NFL hasn't, in letting their players express their beliefs and their opinions. Unless
you're in China.
You have a problem with China neglecting basic human rights to people because they happen to live in Hong Kong. Keep that one to yourself.
Yeah.
That's where I think the bad look is. And it's not... It's not even because the players aren't speaking on it. It's not because I've seen this take where it's like, if you are falling over yourself to say that the NBA is being hypocritical by advocating how difficult it is to be black in America, but not speaking on how difficult it is for Hong Kong and China. Mm-hmm. And it's like, then people are like, you're just cleverly disguising your anti-blackness. You're not that slick. And I'm like, no, that's not my point. My point is, if you're going to market yourself as this woke progressive entity, as this corporation that's willing to stand up for advocacy rights for trans people, for people who are denied advantages that others typically are, you're marketing yourself as this progressive organization.
That's the word. Like, they have without a doubt been the progressive
and
league.
it's one thing to be that. It's another thing to be that and to publicly say, this is what we are.
They have cast that image.
Yeah, for Adam Silver, for the media circle, for the inner circle of the NBA to cast this, we are not the bad NFL. We are the progressive, woke, super into political.
Even in moments that people won't remember too, because can you like imagine an NFL owner? Even one is like Vivek Ranadive is not the most high profile NBA owner. His team plays in Sacramento, but that guy got on a microphone and went out to half court the night after a cop shot somebody in Sacramento and said, "We are with you."
Yes.
That would never happen in the NFL. This is the progressive league, and it's going to be tough for them to do that right now.
And that's where my issue with this lies, is not in the response maybe the players have given, because I do think that even with Steve Kerr, he got kind of attacked for a weak answer, and I think there's probably a memo that floated through the NBA that was like,
there was multiple memos.
Don't talk about this. And I think it happened very fast. Daryl Morey sent the tweet, and the NBA probably was like, well, hey, Fertitta, you come out and say that he doesn't speak for you guys. Mm-hmm. We're going to send a memo for all the players. They can't speak about it. Now you have reporters having microphones taken out of their hands.
And I mean, that was overnight, because one day James Harden's saying, I love China, we're sorry. And the next night, they're not even allowed to talk about it.
You have reporters having the mic removed from their hands. Press passes are being stripped. Fans are being kicked out of arenas for having free Hong Kong
press passes. All of the press passes. There is no media availability.
Yes, and it's you have questions being asked of James Harden and Russell Westbrook. What's your take on the China deal? It's not even.
They sit there like beaten boys,
and it wasn't even a leading question. And you have an NBA representative off stage saying they will speak on basketball questions only. Do you know what that is? That's the NBA telling their players, shut up and dribble. It's the same league that has advocated this incredibly progressive stance of, we are more than athletes. We have this platform. We need to speak on things. Be real. You're either all in on this, where you are going to say, no, we aren't going to do deals with China. There's an implication we'll get into in a minute, but we aren't going to do deals with China because we do believe in the human rights of the people of Hong Kong. We stand with Hong Kong, free Hong Kong. That's the same thing as, we're not going to put the All-Star game in North Carolina because they don't support trans people. It's the same thing as LeBron taking shots at Donald Trump for not supporting black people in America. It's all the same thing. So you either have to be all in, or you can't market yourself as this woke league.
No, and now they've created a slope for themselves too, because now if you want to come out and be woke, everyone's going to call you in immediately. It's obviously, it hasn't reared its head again since this happened, but it's the same thing that happened with Sterling in a sense. Not like in the way that would happen, but in the way of, if another owner comes out and do this, you have to throw him out now. There is no middle ground. Yep. You did it once, you set the precedent.
We're talking about a Nets owner who comes on Twitter and then attacks Morey. Yeah. Like, the teams know what's at stake, and that's where I want to get into the money aspect of this, because just quickly, there was a great tweet from Keith Smith, and he's a Celtics blog guy, NBA insider who is well sourced, great reporter, and he reported that he is aware multiple NBA teams are doing scenario planning for the salary cap to drop as much as 15% next season.
That is you think the past summers have been crazy with player movement? Imagine if nobody has any money and they're all in over their head. When nobody had any money 2 summers ago, we still had unbelievable movement. Now it's going to be teams trying to get out of money, and all of a sudden you're going to have stars that are going to have to go to small markets because it's the only place that's going to have any money.
Over the next 5 years, the Philadelphia 76ers have $580 million committed to 4 players.
They're not the only ones.
All of them are 4. No, they're not. Yeah. They're a great example.
Right, no, that's what I'm saying.
Because 4 forwards, $580 million are committed. If a salary cap threshold drops, and it's the threshold, it's not the hard cap, that's what's important, is you're talking about a $116 million salary cap threshold that could drop to $98 million. You no longer can afford to have Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Al Horford, and Tobias Harris in the same roster long term. The Lakers no longer can afford to pay Anthony Davis this summer. If Gordon Hayward opts in Boston, the Celtics can't extend both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. If you start
go down the list of teams,
you look at the Bucks. Going to be real tough to pay Giannis.
When you're paying Chris Middleton $180. Look at what they did in Portland. They just gave CJ and Dame new contracts.
And one of them's out. And you can't. And at that point,
no point for
what
Nurkic.
I said a week ago with, hey, let's look at if we can move CJ for Bradley Beal. Not anymore.
Nope. But, I mean, even teams that you're not thinking about. Miami's capped out right now as it is. Like OKC, capped out right now.
If you're a team that's hard capped, this will really screw you up.
Yeah, I mean.
And the other thing is
Orlando's getting close to capped out now with Vucevic's extension, with all this money. Like, they're going to have to pay Fultz.
When you start talking about teams you don't think about, that's where it lies, because there are not, obviously the Lakers, the Rockets.
Pistons are capped out.
Sure. The Lakers, the Rockets, the Celtics, the brands of the NBA.
Clippers.
They make a lot of money in China.
Oh, the Rockets
They
especially.
sell a lot. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They sell a lot of merch. The big thing here, too, is the players are as pissed as the owners because, look, Gordon Hayward has a shoe deal with Anta. Klay Thompson has a shoe deal with Anta. James Harden,
Wade.
James Harden, LeBron James do a ton of merch sales over there.
You're hearing all these people want to talk about how they want to go to the Olympics in 2020. It is not a coincidence. It is not a coincidence.
Well, it's in Japan.
I know, but East Asia.
Yeah. But again, it's just like you start to struggle with all these different things, and the teams you don't think about are the ones, because as much as the players on the brands, LeBron James Laker jersey is going to be a tough sell in China right now.
Well, they're pulling all the jerseys from the stores.
You know what's going to be tougher is if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, if you're the Indiana Pacers, you're the Utah Jazz, you're one of these medium to small market teams that struggles to get free agents in the first place, that struggles with a salary cap that's already high. Yeah. If that drops 15%, small market teams are especially screwed. Mm-hmm. And that's where the players don't want this because they lose out on merch sales. The owners don't want this because they lose out on merch sales. Small market teams don't want this because they might not be able to compete if the salary cap drops.
Brooklyn damn sure doesn't want it. You got that much tied up in DeAndre, and you might have to trade Kyrie or KD before they even play together if it drops 15%.
I think they'll find a way to loophole themselves into keeping those two, but
for sure.
You're going to have to start looking at, you can't pay Spencer, you can't pay Karis
LeVert. And they already have.
You can't pay Jared Allen. It's the pieces that built this attractive future team you're going to have to move off of.
What I'm thinking right now is, like, it just came into my head that there's, like, one team that if the cap dropped 15%, it would actually favor them because they have so many one-year deals with people they don't need. And it's the Knicks. Like, if the cap dropped 15%, the Knicks would be like, we got room. We're good. Come on. Let's go. Like, we got money. It's cool. The only money we have is in Julius Randle. We're good. Come on.
Boy, it's going to be, if the cap drops 15%, it's going to be a lot of teams like the Heat that flipped an expiring contract in Whiteside that are going to be kicking themselves.
Yeah. I mean, they've got...
Now, the class next year sucks, but again, it might get a lot better.
There's one guy
if the
in that
Lakers
class.
can't pay
Exactly.
Anthony Davis, it's going to get a lot more interesting.
It's he said, I heard this on Dave McMenamin's piece, or I read it in Dave McMenamin's piece, and then I heard it on the Low Post with Dave McMenamin. There were two teams that Anthony Davis said, I want to go to. He's playing for one of them, and there's one more team still out there, and it ain't the Chicago Bulls. It's the New York Knicks. He said, I want to go there or LA. If there's money in free agency with the Knicks and they can do anything, they're at least getting a meeting.
The problem I'm just now thinking, what is all this moot? Because if you own a player's bird rights, you can go over the cap to extend them on a max contract anyways. It's just going to lower what a max contract is.
It'll lower what a max contract
Players
is.
will be pissed because the contract will be lower.
Right, but you got to think about the guys that are already on teams with locked-in numbers. Like, it lowers the max contract.
That's where it becomes a problem.
Steph still gets $40 million no matter what.
That's where it becomes an issue. Because, again, Anthony Davis, you're talking about a max contract dropping with a $116 million salary cap. He was set to, at 35%, get a $40.6 million annual average value on a max deal. If the salary cap drops 15%, that number changes to $34.3 million. Yeah. Still a ton of money, but it's $6 million less than if Daryl Morey never sent a tweet.
And think of this, in Golden State, you signed Draymond to what you thought was team friendly. Now all of a sudden, that's a max.
It's over a max.
Yes, not like
and you're right. That's where it does really factor in, is because you signed. Oh God, can you imagine Denver having given Jamal Murray $180 million?
I mean, and that's not the only example of that. You can look around and find some other, like Chris Paul has 2 more years left on that thing at $40 million.
Blake Griffin's contract, it's right now it's movable. If the cap drops, it's not.
No, not even a little bit. Chris Middleton at 180, oof.
Even Malcolm Brogdon at 80 becomes high.
85, I think. Yeah,
you start talking about middle tier guys who got the 4 for $80 deal. Jaylen Brown's probably going to get extended on the same deal that Malcolm Brogdon just got if he doesn't go into restricted free agency. If he does go into restricted free agency, probably 4 for $120.
And that's all over the NBA at those Kevin Love's number after the cap drops.
But we're talking Jaylen Brown's 4 for $120. Jason Tatum is getting 5 for $180. Book it. It's happening.
You don't think he has to have a really good year for that?
No, I think he's just going to get it.
Already?
Yeah, I think his potential's so high. His creation ability, if you knock the Kobe out of his game, I think just...
If he averages 19 a game this year, are you giving him that money?
Yeah. With the handle, with the self-creation, with the shooting, with the finishing, the
Joe
athleticism.
Joe Johnson's got the handle and the self-creation. All he's done in his career is make a bunch of money.
Yeah, but there's a defender in Jason Tatum, too.
I got to see some more before I'm ready to throw up 5. I'm not saying he's bad. I don't want to be down-talking Jason Tatum, but
if Ben Simmons is getting 5 for 180 without shooting a 3, Jason Tatum's getting 5 for 180.
I'm not saying he won't get it. I'm saying is giving it to him the right play.
For that team, I think so.
Yeah, there's just parts. I think he will have a great year. I think he's destined for 24, 23 and a half, something like that a night this year.
Well, and I don't know why we're going on Jason Tatum's stand. This is where we should end the podcast. But
sure.
No, he was talking with Drew Hanlon, and Drew Hanlon talked about what they've worked on with Jason Tatum. This is why I know he's getting 5 for 180. Drew Hanlon said, last year you took a lot of long twos and you didn't take a lot of free throws. If we get your free throw attempts up to 6 a game and you start taking 8 threes a game, you're going to score 24 points a night. That's all it is.
He does that. I'm with it.
We're not even talking about...
He's still, 20?
Yeah. We're not even talking about the shots you make. We're just talking about the shots you attempt. Mm-hmm. And just attempting 2 more free throws a night and 5 more threes, you're going to score 10 more points.
He does that and serviceably defends 4s, give him 180.
Yeah. Yeah. It's no question.
Yeah. But there's still that tiny part of me that's he might just come out this year and average 19 a night.
The problem is the 15%. The guy who's going to get killed is Jaylen Brown.
It's going to be tough.
Because he's already on you need to be an all-star for us to want to give you $180 million. You haven't
start.
You frankly have not done enough in 3 years, and now you're going into year 4. We're not giving you 180. Right. You need to be incredible to get 120. So he's the guy that'll be a casualty if the cap drops.
There's other guys too. I mean, look around the league.
Which I already
Boston.
think.
I don't want to go super off on it. I mean, Buddy Hield is mad he doesn't have a contract yet. There was an article this week about it. There's a lot of guys out there who, if this cap drops, they want to get it done now. And especially with what's happened in the last couple of weeks, that clock is getting sped up for everybody who's on a deadline to get that contract done.
All right, we are way over time. So next week we'll go more in depth on the Pistons. I also think next week I just had a topic in my mind, and now trade you most want to see during the NBA season. That's a next week topic.
I already got one.
I got one too. I sent it to you earlier this week. I'm excited to talk about it. That's the matchup. Thanks for listening.
See you next week.